Donk Nation, Jackson, Janet's greetings and welcome to your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you some Steelers talk post preseason week 2. The Buffalo Bills game is over. The Steelers come out victorious. And, well, there is a lot of good things to talk about when you say first team offense right now, and that is always a plus sign to see. But let's just talk about little things going on around the Steelers team. Players finally getting in there, seeing Joey Porter Jr. on the field finally. Some injuries coming around. Guys missing games, as you don't get to see guys like Benton in there. But I want to talk about, before we get to the good stuff, the same old, same old. And while I honestly didn't watch much of the game, I missed the first team offense. I missed everything outside of the second quarter. Watched the whole second quarter. Uh, Busy times, had other things going on. But there's one thing I want to say that is concerning to me, and that's the first thing I want to point out. And that is, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers' inability to cover a tight end in the middle still seems to be there. None of these inside linebackers have shown the ability yet to, I don't know what to say, make the ability to make the plays, so to say, in covering linebackers. And it's really nerve-wracking there. But let's go now to the greatest positive of them all. 3 possessions, 3 touchdowns. That is your first team Pittsburgh Steelers offense. We have great things in the return game, it looked like, from Calvin Austin III. A huge return, showing that speed, showing that ability. Kenny Pickett on a dime to Pat Freiermuth. But let's talk about Jaylen Warren breaking a 62-yard touchdown run. That is right, folks. In two preseason games, the Steelers have more 60-yard touchdowns than they had all of last season. Is explosiveness real this year? Can Jaylen Warren be that explosive running back? Is Calvin Austin III that guy who's going to break the ball down the field? That's what we've seen early in preseason. We're starting to see those guys get more and more first-team reps. They're showing they deserve them. Let's see if they make the most of them, because this offense is looking silky smooth. Kenny Pickett looks in command and comfortable. The offensive line, still a little bit of work in progress. We'll get into that when you look into the stats a little later. But showing the positive things, the question then becomes, can the defense be as good as we think it has the potential to be? And is the weaknesses there going to cover up if this offense can keep up the rate they are going? Because, man, things look pretty the way they are right now. Getting into backup quarterbacks, I mean, Mason did average things. Mitch did average things and got a touchdown, albeit it took 6 tries from the 1-yard line to score. That's rather concerning. The Buffalo Bills, though, penalties galore, helping the Steelers all over the place. But still, shutting out Josh Allen, shutting out the Bills for 3 quarters, really good stuff to see. And is Herbig the surprise? Is he going to be the steal of this draft class for the NFL, being a 4th round pick out of Wisconsin? The kid gets another sack, looks explosive. He looks like he should be a pass rush specialist. Undersized means he's going to struggle a little bit in the running game, and we saw that from time to time against the Bills. But those pass rush moves are legit and are good. But then the question is, if he's a pass rush specialist, how the heck do you get him on the field? Because you already have TJ Watt. I mean, Defensive Player of the Year. There's a reason he's there. And then you have Alex Highsmith. Guy with double-digit sacks, clearly a pass rush specialist. How do you get a guy like Herbig on the field? How do you find him the space to play? Now let's get talking to the middle linebackers. Not impressed. Not a single one of them looked impressive this game. I know Quan Alexander looked great the first game, but none of them showed up. And I'm going to be honest, everyone's talking about how Landon Roberts is wearing the dot. He's calling the plays. I don't think that dude should even make the team based off of what I've seen in the first 2 preseason games. He does not look prepared. He does not look the linebacker. Well, actually, he looks the linebacker we were told we were getting. A guy who's a special teams guy who's going to struggle if you play him. That's what he was in Miami. That's why they let him go, former team captain. If that guy is a great linebacker, you keep him. I think you're seeing the problems that he had there. Just like Miles Jack, there's a reason he was let go. The ability doesn't translate over, which, by the way, best of luck in your future endeavors, Miles. Jack, I just saw that you retired after signing with Philly only 2 weeks ago. Kind of weird thing to say or see, but best of luck in your next endeavors. Then, so we talked about the front, stopping the run, still a problem. Pass rush looks like it might be really good, which in a pass first league, maybe that's what you need. But then the pressure needs to come to the secondary. Are they able to hold up long enough for the pass rush to get home? And this was a good showing. Two guys competing for the slot corner made great plays on interceptions. I mean, Elijah Riley was more right place, right time after a deflection. I believe it was actually a deflection by Cole Holcomb after he got burned a couple plays before. Makes a nice deflection on the ball. Elijah Riley intercepts it in the end zone and smartly takes a knee. That was a good one. Joey Porter Jr. gets gifted the easiest interception I've ever seen as Matt Barkley threw the ball straight to him, but good job getting your hands on the ball and making that interception. That was nice to see. Hopefully there's a lot more of that to come for Joey Porter Jr. as he played a good game from all I heard. I only really saw that play. And then the play that impressed me the most is the slot blitz, something the Steelers like to do a lot. A guy we just brought in from Minnesota who's been up and down, Shandon Sullivan, gets up there, bats that ball, and then catches the deflection on his own, makes that interception. That's a heck of a play, and that's what we need to see from this cornerback depth. Maybe there will actually be some depth this year because if you run the five out there as Joey Porter Jr., Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace, Shandon Sullivan, and Elijah Riley, I think you have a good set of corners there with a lot of high-end potential, so to speak. Disappointing, though, like I said, from the middle linebackers. Disappointing not really seeing Keanu Neal on the field. I mean, Neal, KZ, Fitzpatrick, we need to see them out there. The guy who impressed me the most so far, I think, was the Robinson kid, the kid who hurt his shoulder. He's made interceptions. He's put himself into there, and he might make the roster over some incumbents. I mean, Miles Killebrew is probably going to make the team. He's the special teams ace, so to speak. And then you're also talking, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name, but they called him a Swiss Army knife when we drafted him, and a guy who's just been absolutely a whole lot of nothing, in my opinion, for the Pittsburgh Steelers since being drafted. Though they tried to play up how much his versatility is going to help. I've just never seen anything but him getting burned. And, that's what it is. And maybe this is a year where you see a guy like he who should not be named, James Pierre, not making the roster because there seems to be some depth coming in there and some nice-looking depth coming in there on top of that. So let's go ahead and let's get to talking about the offense. That's what everybody wants to know. We already talked about Calvin Austin being explosive in the return game this week, was explosive in the pass game the week before. The passing game seemed to be pretty solid, good completion numbers. That's Steelers stuff, but really the one I had to say, the only receiver who kind of stood out at all, and it's just because he got thrown the ball a lot, was Gunnar Olszewski. It makes me wonder about the bottom part of this receiving core. Are we going to keep a guy like Olszewski who, if Austin makes the team, does he really have a purpose other than being a backup there? Because he brings special teams value as a return man, has been an all-pro that year, although cost potentially the Steelers the playoffs last year with the fumble punt he had against New England in a game we lost. If he's not a return man, does he really bring value to this football team in any way, shape, or form? I mean, as a receiver, he's subpar, but when you look at the other guys that were competing with him, they are all subpar too. No one outside of him as a wide receiver had more than one catch. And there are guys fighting for roster spots that just needed to show up in this game, and they didn't. I mean, Cody White, again, did nothing. This is just a guy who he has the size, he has allegedly the hands, but he just doesn't seem to have the fight. I understand his dad works somewhere in the front office. Maybe that's why he keeps getting extended looks. But it's just not there as far as I can see. And I don't know what that means. Although I guess I should tell you, there was news coming out today that both Cody White and the guy who disappointed me the most, Hakeem Butler, because he didn't even see the field, but apparently there's a reason for that, as both Cody White and Hakeem Butler have been waived due to injury, according to the Steelers. So, I guess that's maybe where we're seeing the problems. Hopefully the Steelers can bring in someone to be a bottom of the depth chart guy there, because I'll tell you right now, an injury to wide receiver scares me because Robinson hasn't done anything this preseason. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. I mean, we know about Pickens, we know about Deontay Johnson. They're both good options. Calvin Austin III looks legit. Hopefully, Robinson is a good option, but right now with Robinson not showing anything as of yet, and no option at the fifth one as a guy with upside. I mean, if you're talking Oshulski, you're talking no upside type receiver there. You're talking a guy who can make a little catch, will get you 5-6 yards when you need 8 type of guy. I'm not sure that's what you want. I'd like to see one of those guys like Hakeem Butler with the 6'5", 4'3" speed have done something. I'd like to see the Steelers take a chance on a guy who's maybe a more upside type receiver there at the bottom of the list, but it seems that that's going to be far and through right now. Look at roster cuts, see what happens. Offensive line play left a little to be desired. I mean, there was pressures from what I was seeing. The running game, what should we say about the running game? If you take out Jaylen Warren having 1 carry for 62 yards, the running game was the quarterbacks and then a bunch of guys at 1 yard a carry. I guess you could say Najee Harris did his typical thing, 3 yards a carry, 2 carries, 6 yards, yada, yada, yada. Greg Bell gets in there, he gets 7 carries for 17 yards, 2 yards a carry. You get in Valladay, 5 carries, 4 yards. Higgins, 2 carries, 3 yards. McFarland, 9 carries, 2 yards. At this point, and I understand those were the backups, so maybe there's not so much to be worried about, but even the starter ones weren't impressive outside of the Warren run. It's starting to get a little worrisome. Need to start seeing a better push. If we're going to be a run-first team, that first team, I'm not as worried because that first team has stepped up. But the depth guys, the guys who were going to play some games because big boys get beat up, big boys miss games, those guys have to step up. None of them seem to really be able to push a pile. And as of right now, that would be a big concern to me. How Kendrick Green is still on this football team absolutely confuses me. I don't understand it. It's preseason. We're reading too much into things. I understand that fully. But that's what you do. This is the time. The games don't matter, though the Steelers are winning. Fun to see. The games don't matter. This is the time you get to evaluate your backups. If this guy goes down to injury, should I be concerned or should I be like, we have someone to step up? And right now, I'm going to say outside of outside linebacker and maybe slot corner, call me very concerned by the depth I am seeing in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, 2 good backup quarterbacks, but they're good backups. They're not good quarterbacks. They're good backup quarterbacks, which I guess means you're one of the top 50 at the position in the league, but that's neither here nor there. The depth pieces in this third preseason game that's coming up need to show up. They need to ball out, and they need to let the Steelers have confidence that if something was to happen, one of these guys is going to step up and make some plays. But then again, playing Buffalo, having some struggles. I guess I should throw Broderick Jones there too. I didn't actually see him play, but I'm reading that he had a struggle some of a game. Really was hoping he would come in and instantly be able to take over Dan Moore and then develop into that franchise tackle, be an average guy when he first started. Because there's a lot of talent and a lot of potential in Broderick Jones. And no offense, but Dan Moore, in my opinion, is still the weak point of this team. And I would still like to see that improved. And I think Broderick Jones, while he might not be as consistent right now, would be an improvement overall. But we'll have to see. Still too early, and can't yell at a rookie for maybe not being ready day one, especially a guy who is a little more raw as a talent, but has all the gifts you ever want in the world in a prospect. So that's my sum up of the game. Good things you want to see. First teamers getting the job done is great. Watching interceptions happen was great. Would love to have seen a few more sacks on the stat line, but Herbig was bringing pressure like crazy. That's good to see, knowing that there'll be depth there again at outside linebacker. And that's not even talking Marcus Golden, who's probably going to be the best run stuffer of that group. And thank goodness we have at least one, because we have 3 guys who definitely are good at getting after the quarterback. We need someone who's good at being level-headed and stopping those running backs. Again, would like to see more from the defensive line depth, the offensive line depth players. Those are the ones that can produce well. And the stats might be a little bit deceiving because Buffalo had so many penalties to help the Steelers out all over the place. But you take them as you are. Did the Buffalo commit those penalties because the Steelers were forcing them? There's always the question of, who should get the big credit for that. But all will say, good preseason game, got the job done. Couple receivers got moved on from today. We'll see if they can bring in someone who maybe looks like they can make a difference. And that is all that I have for this week. Sorry it was a little late. The weekend was kind of all over the place for me, I guess, and things got away from me. And I forgot to do it. But we're getting it out here today on a Monday. We get to talk about that preseason game versus the Bills, shutting down Josh Allen, first team offense staying perfect. What more can you ask for? That is everything that we want to see. So I guess it's time for me to get to shout outs. My shout out this week will be the first team offense staying perfect. Matt Canada calling a pretty good game as of right now, albeit you see vanilla defenses in the preseason. You guys are getting the shout out with the now we got to do it when it counts, because I doubt we're going to see you play much in preseason game 3, if at all. So when week 1 rolls around, that Niners game, it's time to light it up the way you have been. So shout out first team offense. And Herbig, just going to put that out there too. Mini shout out to you. You've been balling out since you got drafted by the Steelers. Love to see it. Now it's time. I got to let you know. I am the Viking Donkey. That is Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose of Donkey with Ginger is a YouTube channel where you get all this fun content. I hope to have Gingy and Laskers back to talk the end of the preseason after the Steelers' final preseason game. Maybe we'll get to talk roster cuts, although I don't think they happen till later. Maybe we'll get some roster prediction guys that we are like, we think this guy is going to miss the roster, who seemed like a lock, or this guy's going to make the roster who no one was talking about. That kind of thing will be what we're hopefully getting into this weekend. Let me know what you like. Let me leave a follow, leave a comment, and tell me if there's any content you want to see for this upcoming season, any content you think isn't worth the time and investment, because all feedback is good feedback. And Donk Nation, Steeler Nation, love y'all. It's time to say goodbye. So, wave them if you got them. Here we go.